You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Hi, everybody. It's Miss Jen, and you're here on Talkin Shop here on The Experience. I'm having a good old time. It's been a blast of a day here at Space Cadets. A lot of people come in. It's not usually so on a Monday. Usually it's quiet, but you got to see a lot of our friends. We're ramped up and ready for this Wednesday's comic books that are coming out. But this week, we're going to focus in on comic books that are being made just for you via crowdfunding. In this case, we're talking to some really cool people. We're going to get to talk to Cullen Bunn and Blackie Shepard about their cool Reanimator series that is finishing up at Kickstarter soon. And we get to talk to Ted Sikora, who has a few more days left on his awesome one. So you guys can see and support people that love things so much they're willing to, like, let's make this happen, which by sheer force of nerd will, come right back and watch all the fun happen. Everybody, and we're on. It's time for Talkin Shop, and I already see some of our friends joining us. Isaac Cananis, who's a supporter of the network, on. Hello, and Cool Gamer, as always. You guys are awesome. Thanks for your thumbs up and your hearts and your likes and your shares and your subscriptions. They mean everything to us. We run on them like they were fuel. All right, let's get to it. We're going to talk to our first guests. We're going to talk to Cullen Bunn and Blackie Shepard about their awesome book series Reanimator. This is the second part, The Eternal Lie, that's coming out soon. Hey!
Aloha.
Cullen is tiny.
Hey there, how are you?
I'm doing great.
I don't know what this is. It's a new thing. It's a new thing for me. I like to have a tiny little image of myself.
You're in thumbnail form.
Yeah, I have no idea what this is. I was just on another interview a couple hours ago, and it was fine. It's like it changes every time. So
yeah,
sorry for the small version.
Okay,
that's right.
We can make this happen. So this is not the first time that you guys have worked together. You guys have worked together on Reanimator, the first part, right? And then you guys worked together on Pumpkinhead.
Mm-hmm. We did. We've actually worked together on a few books. We did. I guess the first thing we worked on together was a Voltron series.
Yep.
And then we did Pumpkinhead, and we did the Vampirella versus Reanimator series for Dynamite, and then we did Reanimator: The Eternal Lie. What am I missing, Blackie? Is that it?
I think you did it. You know, we did the. What was your darkest catacombs or deepest catacombs?
Oh, yeah,
I did
one page stuff, yeah.
And,
so we've been working together far too long at this point.
That's right. He's sick of me.
So were you guys like a love match at a convention, or you guys put together by a publisher and just everything started to meld? How did that work?
We were put together. I don't know if love match is anything that either Blackie or myself ever wants to be considered, but I think we were introduced through Dynamite, right? So it was when I was doing that Voltron book, Dynamite. Dynamite put us together for that book. We digged working with each other and went that way. Went from there.
Perfect. Probably at this point, have you guys gotten to the point where you can kind of shorthand what you're envisioning, Cullen, and he just knows what you're at?
So. Typically, my answer to that question is I don't do shorthand scripts, regardless of who the artist is. I write the same. I mean, even artists I've worked with for decades at this point, I write a full script. However, Reanimator: The Eternal Lie is a very different process because of scheduling and how it had to come together. My script for this is what I would consider sort of a shorthand. It's more like the old Marvel style of scripting, where instead of a panel by panel script. It's more of, this is what's going to happen on this page. This is what's happening on page 2. This is what happens on page 3. And then it falls on Blackie's shoulders to draw that and make it a story that works. And then after it's drawn, then I come back in and write all the dialogue. So this is this is a different kind of project.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun, and kind of opens up everything to you, Blackie. Does this make you comfortable, this method?
Well, yes and no. On the one hand, this is the only project I've done this way, in my time doing comics. On the one hand, it does open it up, and it allows me to kind of pick how many panels per page, because my personal style is I like a 5-panel page, where I can have one big dominant panel and then, a couple of panels that flesh out the action. But that's not always possible when given a script where, maybe the writer has put a 7-panel page in, or a 3-panel page, or what have you, and so, I like fewer panels so that I can draw bigger. And so that's great. It has allowed me to try to translate what Cullen is looking for into, the number of panels that I personally prefer. On the other hand, it's a lot more heavy lifting on my part insofar as, there's a certain comfort when the writer tells you, okay, panel 1, I want a, medium shot from above, guy sitting on a couch, to his left is a nightstand with a this and that and the other thing. It just gives me a nice, very easy to follow list of, okay, check, got to draw that, got to draw that, got to draw that, and so it kind of allows that aspect of my creativity to go on autopilot for all intents and purposes. And so it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen, or that's not the right analogy. It's kind of, a mixed bag, on the one hand, I like being able to dictate the flow of the story to a certain degree. On the other hand, it does require that I, put more effort in per page.
Oh, that's awesome. So I'm unfamiliar with your background in comics. Was your art career begin in comics, or did you enter comics later on?
Well, I started out, my first gig out of art school was doing concept art and some planning for a independent video game that unfortunately never got made. We did all the work, and then the person in control of getting the funding just didn't do their job. So there's a lot of work that I did for this game that is never going to see the light of day. But I got paid, so that's good. But I did that. And then out of frustration, I went and got a big boy job and worked in IT for several years. And then went into and literally just kind of one day decided I didn't want to do that job anymore. I wanted to draw comics. And so kind of, exited that job, reduced my yearly income by 85%, and started the process of trying to break into comics. And luckily enough, I was able to get in fairly quickly, and start doing projects that, I was interested in and found creatively challenging and what have you. When I was trying to get into comics, I did like a pinup calendar, just some art to get out there.
So what do you think that you can give advice about the key you feel like it is to be able to enter the industry as an artist?
Well, one is, don't try to get into this industry if you want to have money in your pocket, because that's not what this is about. I draw comics because I can't not draw comics. It's just in my blood. It's something I'll do every day of my life until I'm shuffling loose the mortal coil, as they say. The other thing is, you have to be brutally honest with yourself. I think I'm a pretty good artist. I like my own art, but there are aspects of my art that I'm continuously dissatisfied with, that I'm always trying to improve on. You know, things like, you know, some of my poses can look a little stiff. You know, I noticed that when I made the transition to being a very detail oriented artist, what used to be very fluid and motion filled posing became much stiffer because I started to focus too much on detail. So now I'm trying to draw that to the middle. And then there's the idea of, getting into comics is kind of like fighting the Borg. You know, no weapon works the same way twice, you know, so the way I won't necessarily work for anybody. So I think the best way that an artist can break into comics these days, given the way that conventions have changed, and the process of getting your work in front of editors who can give you a gig has changed very drastically. Now, the best way to get into comics is make comics. You know, either find a writer and work with them and put out your comic yourself, do Kickstarters or a web comic, and just start putting out a volume of comics that you'll eventually get a certain amount of a name, assuming you're good enough and have a good enough storytelling device at your disposal. And then, you know, people will start to notice you. Editors will find you. You know, long gone are the days of, you know, lugging your portfolio under your arm to a convention and putting it in front of an editor and them going, "Hey, you're amazing. Want to draw Spider-Man?"
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
Okay, so the project that you guys are working on is Reanimator, which some people might be familiar with because of the movie, but really is an H.P. Lovecraft short story from like 1922 or some nonsense, long time ago.
Mm.
So, and the source material's been looked at a lot and produced lots, and touched on by y'all actually before. How do you find paths for the character who really wants to bring back the dead? It looks like chemical is his obsession. How do you fit, new stories to pull out?
Well, I mean, first of all, you're right. A lot of people are familiar with the movies, and then there have been numerous, and actually there are numerous different movies now. There are several movies telling the story of Herbert West Reanimator. And then, of course, there's all the comics. So for this one, we kind of wanted to take it back to formula. And so Reanimator, The Eternal Lie is a direct sequel to the original short story. It is set in the 20s or 30s or whatever time period that was. I can't remember the exact date anymore. But, you know, sometime during that time. And it's set right after the events of that short story. So it's not a modern era story. It ignores everything else you might have seen or read over the years. And we decided the way we were going to do something a little different with it was the original Herbert West Reanimator story was not tied into the greater Cthulhu mythos. It was its own standalone horror story. We're throwing that out the window, and we are tying this story in a big way to the Cthulhu mythos. So this is, I mean, I don't think it's, and Blackie, you may disagree, I don't think it is completely wrong to say this is the story of Reanimator versus the Cthulhu mythos.
I could disagree with that at all. I think that's about as apt a description as one's going to get.
Yeah, Herbert West is, like you said, Jen. He's obsessed with this idea of conquering death, and he created this formula that allows him to do just that. Unfortunately, most of the time, when he uses the formula, it results in the reanimated corpses becoming violent and vicious. But in our story, his formula has been stolen. And the group that has stolen the formula has some extremely nefarious purposes in mind. And Herbert West wants his formula back. Is it because he wants to stop the forces of evil? No, it's more because he doesn't want anyone else to have his formula, but that puts him in the role of having to stand in the way of the forces of evil.
Oh my gosh. I just want to say hi to some of our viewers that have just popped on. Hey, Leonard, how are you doing? And Dog Pound Brown, how are you doing? And feel free to pop up questions if you guys have any. I'll try to fit them in. So just put them in the comments and we'll see if we can get them answered for you. Okay, so you guys have got some pretty cool covers and opportunities to, let's say that no one has any idea, never read any of these books. It looks like you guys have lots of opportunities for people to jump in by getting back issues of this that are part of it. What are some standouts for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. First of all, this is the Kickstarter for Reanimator: The Eternal Lie Part 2, but you can get Part 1 without, I mean, so you can get Part 1 as part of this campaign if you missed out on it. So you can catch right up on the story and have lots of cool stuff to read. And then there's so many cool things. There are Reanimator board games as part of this. There's,
T-shirts,
there's so many cool aspects to it. But that's probably the most important thing for me, is letting people know you can get Part 1 as part of this campaign. So you are not going to be missing out on anything.
It's really important because I often find campaigns, like the first time I hear about them is maybe when they're at issue 3 or something.
Yeah.
And it doesn't do you any good if there's not ability for the rest of it. And to their credit, most everyone's smart and adds those things, but sometimes they're just not available, or they don't want to print it again, right?
For sure.
So, okay. I saw a little blurb somewhere that it mentioned demons. How do the demons tie in here?
I think well, first of all, to answer that question directly, it depends on how you define the entities of the Cthulhu mythos. And a lot of people, it is very easy to define them as demons. Some people would see them as demons. And Blackie has definitely designed some very demonic looking versions of these outer beings. I think probably that the Comet Demon, isn't there one of the variant covers is Lady Demon? And
that's what it is. Yeah. So Dynamite asked me to do as a variant cover Lady Demon, one of the I believe they're the Chaos characters.
Yeah.
And so, I also did for the first campaign, I did a cover that had Vampirella, Lady Demon, and Herbert West on it. Dynamite loves their crossovers, you know what I mean? And so I think that's probably where the demon thing is coming from, is the fact that we've included Lady Demon on a couple of different covers. Plus, one of the perks, or one of the things you can get if you back the campaign is you can ask me to do on a sketch cover, it just lists Vampirella, Lady Demon, or Herbert West, but I'm happy to do whatever character somebody asks for. But one of the ones that they define is Lady Demon. I'll do a sketch cover of Lady Demon. So I suspect that's where the demon thing is coming from.
Awesome. And did I also see that there was an opportunity to get original art?
Yeah. So let me see. One of the tiers is I will draw the person as a zombie. Or again, I'm happy to do whatever they like. Like I'm really into the idea of doing people as a mid-stage deep one, so have them kind of in the middle part of transforming into a deep one. I'll do them as, a zombie. I'll do them as whatever they ask for, but the idea is that, I'll get some reference imagery of that person, and then I'll do them as whatever type of monster they want, mid-transformation werewolf, whatever they ask for.
If I back that level, would you draw me as younger, taller, and a little bit more handsome?
Your wish is my command, sir.
All right.
And then there's also you can back at a level and get the original art for all of the covers, right? So if one of the covers is really your thing, you can back it, and I'll send you off the original pencil art for the cover.
We've got a question from our production team that asks if they can be drawn as a corpse that has yet to be reanimated so that I can be a dead guy in multiple universes.
Happy to do it.
You're just gonna draw a tombstone. Here lies.
That one would be real easy.
So I kind of like whenever people do like darker books, I always wonder like, how do you successfully do research to either one of you without having Google get you in trouble by the search terms you are using? Or do you don't care anymore?
I'm good friends with an artist who's done a lot of very dark horror work named Jason Burrows, and he and I go to lunch pretty often, and we've both commiserated that we have to be on a list somewhere at this point, given some of the craziness I've searched for. I've got folders and folders and folders on my computer, what I call my image morgue of horrible means of death and gore and reference photos of dismembered bodies and crazy things, and oddly enough lots of fish heads and coelacanths and just anytime I see something terrible on the internet, I think, oh, right click save as.
Do you remember the weirdest string of words you've put together to have to search?
Well, it's hard to recall specific things, but I'll look up I'll see how specific I can get, right? So I'll look up man eviscerated by alligator, you know what I mean? And I'll get a certain amount of results, and then I'll think, okay, I got to tighten that up, and I'll just think, okay, stomach ripped out by animal, and then you just keep doing these searches that get weirder and weirder and weirder, until eventually you arrive at the image of gore that's going to be perfect for your purposes.
I like to think that your search history is just all these horrible things, and then occasionally, which Beanie Baby is most valuable.
So it's a combination of looking for gore and toys.
And toys, yes.
So there's a lot of Micronauts and gore, Shogun Warriors and gore.
How about you, Colin? Can you think of any like weird things you've had to look up? You're like, I'm going to be in so much trouble.
Oh, I can't think of any off the top of my head. Over the years, I have gotten better about just knowing what not to type in. Like, I don't want to type in something that I think I'm researching some death scene, and I somehow fall into the rabbit hole of some bizarre fetish or something. So
yeah,
I've gotten good about avoiding it, and I almost never click on any image searches that I think will show me a scene of something I don't want to see. And mine's not, it's not gore. The things that bother me is, I can't remember what it's called, but I've found over the years, and it's from doing comics, I have that phobia of holes, many, things that have numerous holes.
Okay.
It freaks me out now, and it never used to bother me until I started researching things for comics, and like a wasp nest is creepy to me now, and somehow that's something that well, trust me, I still have some images that an artist sent me that will forever haunt your nightmares that I can send you sometime if you ever want me to. So I don't really look at images too often. And most of my searches these days, it's the things that I'm afraid will get me into trouble are things like, what ingredients would I use to make a bomb? And, and I'm trying to figure out how, as a story, this character's trying to, MacGyver their way out of some trouble. And I'm searching how to build a bomb, or, how to make a shiv, how things like that. And so that's the stuff that'll get me into trouble, because then most of my search engines, things like, what did people eat for breakfast in 1930?
Right.
Well, that's so cool. All right. Let's talk about how long people have still yet to back. How long do we have left?
There are 3.5 days. I think tomorrow it trips to 3 days tonight at 10 o'clock. So, I mean, the countdown is on. Tomorrow we start posting it. It's the 3-day countdown, 3-day warning tomorrow. So now is the time to jump on and back the program.
Yeah, you should do it today, because as we get closer to Wednesday, you're going to get distracted by comic books. You're going to go to your LCS and buy those, so you're going to forget about it. Don't do that. Don't do that. You're going to catch yourself in a big world of hurt. You're going to miss the things, so don't do that. What else do you guys have coming out in this next couple of months? Blackie, what you got coming other than this cool thing?
Well, there's a project that got a green light that, everybody involved said, okay, we're going to do it. But as yet, I have not seen any movement on that. So that's a bummer, because it's a character that I've wanted to draw for my whole life. Obviously, I can't say much about it other than the fact that it seems to have stalled. But aside from that, I'm kind of, after Reanimator, I'm going to take a step back and do a little breathing, and then figure out what I want my next move to be in comics. I'm also a digital sculptor, and so I've been working on some toy lines and working into the idea of doing like collectible sculptures, so the cool statues you see at comic conventions and that kind of thing. I'm putting a lot of time into that as well. So after Reanimator, I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break before I jump into something deeply comic book oriented again. Whatever it is, though, it'll probably be, horror.
Oh, perfect. Colin, I know you probably have 20 books coming out this week.
No, not this week. But yeah, I mean, I'm always working on a bunch of new creator-owned stuff. I think the next two new projects, which are available to pre-order right now, so you could go to your comic shop and tell them you want them on your pull and hold list, is in May, like the first week in May, Lamentation #1 comes out. That's from Oni Press. It is a really cool sort of fusion of cosmic horror and giallo about this girl who ends up at she gets hired to work on a play at this old ancient, playhouse, and quickly finds out that she can't leave until the play is done. And also elements of the play are starting to bleed into the real world in some murderous ways. And then the next week, May 10th, Ghost Lore #1 is coming out from Boom. And Ghost Lore is this big supernatural epic about these a father and daughter who, after a tragic accident, find that they can not only communicate with ghosts, but that ghosts want desperately to tell them stories. And once these ghosts tell them their stories, they can be set free. But the father and daughter have very different ways of setting these ghosts free. One is very peaceful, and one is very violent. And what's really cool about Ghost Lore is every issue has this main epic storyline drawn by Leomax, but every issue also has a short ghost story. The ghost stories that ghosts tell that are drawn by different different artistic teams every issue. So both of those are available for pre-order right now. I heard you talking about pre-orders before you let us in. We all know we preach it, but it is vitally important that you pre-order books that sound good to you.
Absolutely, because then you don't have to fight people on Wednesday and bow out.
Right.
You can just walk to your box and say, "Give me my things."
And then the only other thing and we won't talk too much, it just got announced that in August I'll be doing the Death of the Venomverse for Marvel, which is their one of their big tie-ins to the Summer of Venom. This is the best one of those. This is the one where Carnage goes through the multiverse and with the express purpose of killing every version of Venom he possibly can.
Oh, dude. That sounds awesome. Ghost Lore covers give preacher vibes to you. Oh, okay.
I can see that because one of our leads is a reverend, and so I can see that. Very different vibe of a comic, but it's definitely got its share of preacher level darkness in it.
Oh, perfect. Well, Colin, I know you have to run off. You're booked and booked and booked today, and I'm sure also Lucky is. I just want to thank you so much. I just, from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys for making time to come and let everybody know what's going on, so we can be in the know. And
well, I love talking. I love talking to you. Love talking to all your audience. I see them popping up over there.
Yes.
Anytime. What I'll come in. I don't know if you see me haunting. Occasionally, I'll come in and lurk on some of your videos that I just watch. But yeah. So
Henri Compton is on saying hi, and then Comics with Bueller. Bueller's on saying hi to you.
Well, hello. But I can't stress enough how much I appreciate what you do, and thank you for having us here. Thanks to all the people who are reading these books. I don't take it lightly at all. It means a lot, and I couldn't do what I love to do without all of you.
And it's a total likewise. You guys make my life as a comic book lover and a comic book retailer so much easier because you make such great things. So thank you for what you do every day.
Well, thank you.
All right, everybody, stick around. We're going to get to talk to Ted Sakura next. And thank you guys so much for stopping in. We'll see you right after this break.
Thank you.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit ComicShopLocator.com to find a store near you.
Do you remember what it was like when you were a little kid and you got a letter in the mail? Now imagine that letter was filled with information about your favorite shows, pop culture questions, links to things you're going to want to see later, and even sneak peeks at upcoming programming here on The Experience. That's what the EXP mailing list is. Every week, we send you sneak peeks, information, and all of the relevant links for all of the shows you want to see. Sign up now on our website or scan the QR code that's on your screen right now.
Everybody, and welcome back. We're here on Talkin Shop. It is Monday, so you got plenty of time to get to your LCS and tell them what books you want on your list. This is one of those crazy shows where we're actually giving you a super big heads up and allow you to support people that are crowdfunding their work, and they are established at doing this, and so you know you're getting the best work in. And this next fellow I have seen at many conventions. His setup is to die for, and his books are amazing. And he created the original Punchline. Here's Ted Sakura.
Hey, how you doing, Jen?
Doing good. I just think you should just like carry signs around that said created original Punchline.
Yeah. Oh, it comes up a lot.
Do people come up to your thing and say you can't use that name? Someone else owns it.
Oh, all the time. Yeah, yeah. You know, DC already has a character named Punchline. Yeah, I'm aware.
Yeah, but
Yeah, no, I tell them. You know, we were about 2 years earlier with our guy, and our guy, you know, he's a heavyweight boxer, so he punches people, and he becomes this super-powered murderous clown assassin.
The coolest character design, honestly. It's so pretty.
I have some visual aids here at the ready. Yeah, this is Jay Gonzo actually did this piece, and it is actually going to be the cover for the second printing of issue 1. We did a black version of it. He gave me 2 color options, but I really love this, and now that we need a second printing on it, we are going to use that one. So,
well, you know, I love it because
super
that's my
retro cool.
Perfect coloring. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, It looks like Kyle wants a Hero Tomorrow t-shirt that says "We were first."
Oh, that's a good idea. Punchline, we were first. Yeah.
So were you at
idea,
one of
Kyle.
the bajillions of conventions that were on this weekend? Were you set up?
I was at C2E2. Yep.
In your normal spot?
Well, I don't have a normal spot there. I've tried 3 different places. First was Small Press, and then Artist Alley about 3 years later. And here we are 3 years later. I was on the main floor. And it was the most successful one that I've had. It was terrific.
Oh, on the main floor. Okay.
Yeah. Hosted by my good friend Henri.
Henri, if you're anywhere near Henri's booth, you know the energy is going to be high.
Yes.
Well, perfect. Okay, so get everyone familiar with this universe, because you've got kind of 2 universes that are clashing in this book, or clashing.
Yeah, right on. So Hero Tomorrow Comics has 4 titles, and I can kind of do a visual aid here, I think.
I like show and tell. It's my favorite.
Yeah. So our first book, Apama. Well, I'll pull up the most recent issue. This one's about an ice cream truck driver who unlocks the spirit force of the most savage beast mankind has never known and becomes a superhero. And what people dig about Apama is he reminds you of classic Marvel, but you're not trying to catch up with like 70 years of history. And you're following a guy who drives an ice cream truck for a living. So this is not your brilliant Peter Parker type at all. In issues 10 and 11 of Apama, we introduced Nikki St. Clair. So this is a mega talented actor who gets cast in a horror show musical as the tap dance killer. But then there's a supernatural event that locks Nikki permanently in the role, and she starts wiping out the mafia. And then our hero Apama needs to kind of intervene. So she's sort of this love interest / nemesis. Images of tap dance killer were being liked and shared by the thousands by people who didn't even know who she was, which was something that never happened for poor Apama. But I decided to run her into her own series, and that was a 5-issue series where we did introduce the original, right on the back, the last page of issue 1. Name's Punchline, just the clown to wreck this town. And issue 2 was largely all about his origin story. We did let's see if I got it here. Yeah. So yeah, this was the issue 2 cover. And yeah, I mean, Drayton Hayes, basically within the vaudevillains, which is what Tap Dance Killer is part of. You know, there's Sir Terror, and Fletcher is this guy who's experimenting with human DNA and enhancing. His first successful attempt is Drayton Hayes as Punchline there. And this was actually the variant cover for issue 2 with him there.
So gorgeous.
Thank y'all. So then we released Bloom, which was our bestseller ever through Diamond, which was about Apama's arch nemesis, Regina. And it is her origin story as told in the 60s. And now we are continuing the saga of the vaudevillains with Punchline's own book. And issue 1 came out actually before Bloom. And then I really wanted to focus on Bloom and get all 4 issues out in 1 year, which we did in 2001. 21, seems like 2001. But now we've got issue 2 coming, and it all comes full circle because Punchline was originally supposed to be a villain for Apama. I originally just liked the idea of a heavyweight boxing clown named Punchline, and I thought, what a great villain for Apama. But when we introduced Tap Dance Killer, that was such a great way to introduce this new character in that series because he fit in with their whole vibe. But now, issue 2, we got the big throwdown. It is Apama versus Punchline in Punchline's book. And it is a fight that I am not, this is not hyperbole. It changes both characters from this point on.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just like, this is my guts only about this. Just my gut reaction to why is Apama not more popular? Is it maybe it just doesn't read for people as the kind of character because it's all brown that it doesn't.
Oh yeah.
Pop.
You know, I think it goes a little deeper. There's before we ever made a comic book, okay, we made a movie, and it's a feature film I directed with Milo Miller. I wrote it with Milo Miller, and we both write Apama. It's about a struggling comic book creator. We had no thoughts of actually being, I'm trying to get rid of the glare. We had no thoughts of being comic creators at the time we made this, other than, maybe when we were kids. But it's about a struggling comic creator who has this idea for a superhero, and he can't get it published, but his girlfriend's an aspiring fashion designer, makes him a costume of his own character for Halloween, and he starts running around in it. So in the movie, we needed a hard to explain idea for this character. That's part of the humor of the movie. And what's harder to explain than a superhero based on an animal that doesn't really exist, that only exists in the creator's imagination? So we did issue 1. I mean, in the movie, our character reasons that so many great heroes are creature themed, but all the good ones had been taken, spiders, bats, wolverines, ants, whatever. So he comes up with the Apama and says, this creature is so powerful and stealthy, it was never discovered by mankind, and my hero's based on that. So it was actually Tony Isabella who saw the movie and said, there's really nothing like Apama, his idea in comics. You ought to try it as a comic book. And we thought, all right, but we don't want to do an adaptation of the movie. But we did is what was in the character's head. If he could have just published this, what would that be? And so it's a whole different universe. Ice cream truck driver on the streets of Cleveland who becomes this Apama. So Apama, when I say the words tap dance killer, even if you've never seen the character, there's a vision in your head. Yep. Punchline, a clown that boxes. You see something, and I think with Regina, she's super visual. Apama, it's like, do you have time for a cup of coffee? And I'll tell you what Apama's all about. And it's just not that quick thing. Now, we're super proud of it, and it is not our best. Really, since the other books have come out, it's the one that sells the least. But it is the brand, the tree trunk from which all these other branches came out. And I find when people come up to us at the shows and they're like, oh, I love Bloom and Tap Dance Killer, what else you got? And I'm like, do you realize those 2 characters started in Apama? And they're like, no. So then they pick up the Apama, and we get them on backwards. So that's going to be how it goes maybe for now.
Yeah, I think for you specifically, it works much better when I see people walk up to your booth and you get to tell them about the character. That I think that it does make a big difference for people, that because you breathe life into the character in your description, it's much easier than, say, a comic book store that has it on the rack and it's competing with all these flashy colored characters.
Yeah.
So I think that's it really. I don't think I've ever seen someone walk away from your booth without things in their hands. So
no, it happens, but it definitely happens. But yeah, no, it's thankfully the cons have been very successful for us, and we've had great support from attendees, and it's just a thrill to be able to talk to people face to face and get feedback. And it's one of the reasons I like returning to cons too, just to kind of hear what people thought.
Oh yeah. Okay, so in your Kickstarter that's going on right now, we always like to find out, do you have access or packages that gives people like everything that's part of the universe if they wanted to jump in brand new?
Absolutely. You can get, I think there's a tier. Let me just make sure I get it right. So if you go to Kickstarter, type in Punchline, or I believe the
We've got it on there now.
Yep. So there's 2 different, there's a catch-up tier. It's issue 2, obviously, but this is for 1 and 2. So you can just jump into Punchline 1 and 2. We make sure, and in fact, with Tap Dance Killer, we did that. Like, we knew most people hadn't read Apama, so a lot of people who read Tap Dance Killer, like I said, have no idea that it was connected to something else, but it actually does pick up right where the other left off. We just don't want you to feel like you were left off, so we don't even cite the other book. There's one called Complete Vaudevillains. So you actually get Apama 10, 11, the whole Tap Dance Killer trade, and then Punchline 1 and 2. That's $45. And then there's also the, there's the entire PDF library for $59. which is 23 comics, and all 23 issues, single issues for 107.
That's awesome. And I know you guys out there like, I'm going to use the word floppies because I get in trouble all the time by my good friend Brian Hibbs. He hates that word. But that's what I hear everyone call them.
Yeah, I always call them floppies. I guess single issues or floppies, whatever. Yeah.
I would much prefer have all of those in my box.
Well, they're all those first appearances, and we've had some interest in developing this into some other live action kind of thing. So, for speculators, it's a pretty good deal.
Absolutely. So, other than Bloom, which came straight to comic book stores, were any of the other issues distributed through like regular
Diamond?
distribution?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything was. Here's another thing we did. We were so backwards. Like we did the movie first, and then we did the comic, right? But we even did it more backwards than that because we started just doing digital issues. So we were posting issues on our movie's website. And then Comixology came out. And we're like, oh, we can just upload this to Comixology and it'll be available. How cool. And we were just terrified of print. We were just like, that's something that we don't need to get involved with. But when we got to issue 5, which really was the origin story, or the first appearance of Regina, done very specifically because in issue 5 of the Fantastic Four, they introduced Dr. Doom. So our Dr. Doom is Regina. We are very much trying to meticulously build a world here in a measured way. But where was I going with that? So we submitted our trade from the Kickstarter to Diamond, and we were accepted. So Diamond actually put out a Palma Volume 1, and then about a year and a half later, we did a Palma Volume 2. And that's when Tap Dance Killer was starting to catch fire. So we decided we were going to do single issues, so we didn't have to wait till a trade was done. And then we thought, man, because we spend a lot of time on like covers, like we really want the covers to kind of feel like that old school thing. I'm seeing if I got the a good example. Well, even going back to say one like this, like we have like the type on it. We're trying to do something kind of Bronze Agey, but in a modern way. So with a Palma, we absolutely were doing that, and we thought, man, these never had their day on the shelves. They were just like printed inside the trade. So we actually remastered the single issues when they were released in like a bi-monthly alongside Tap Dance Killer, and so for anybody like in between the trade or the single issue, I think the single issue is a better way to go because we really had a second crack at everything. So yeah, movie first, then the trade, then the single issues, and that's a Palma.
Yeah. So weirdly, I met you like at the very beginning of pandemic through a group that I just kind of threw together out of an emergency need to have access to comic books when Diamond was taking a little break. And I'm so glad that happened because as a store owner, and probably you guys out there that read books, you have so many that you already like, I'm married to these books and I have all my money spent and I don't have any, my mind is too full of what I've got coming and I can't think about other things. This allowed me and a lot of other people to be like, okay, what else is there out there that I haven't had time to devote looking at? And just so thankful because this universe is so amazing. And
thank you. Well, and we were all extremely grateful for what you put together there, where we could all kind of keep selling product too. It helped everybody. It was a terrific idea, and I was so glad to see how strongly it was implemented.
Yeah, it was one of those things I wasn't really sure how it would be embraced, whether it was something that people would be like, no, I want to take 2 months off, thanks.
Right.
But yeah, because I do this kind of stuff all the time, I was like, I have to have access to material. And for myself too, I like reading. I just couldn't imagine 2 months without getting to read new comic books. Just made my head explode. Like, no.
Yeah.
So what else are you working on past this?
Well, we have been, so I'd have written a TV pilot that we're shopping around that kind of combines the elements from all 4 of our titles in one show. as it's proposed. And nothing like Vaudeville was a musical that I wrote the principal music and lyrics to, from which the song Tap Dance Killer was derived. And possibly updating that, and another musical that I wrote, a Greek mythology adaptation. So that's all kind of in the background, but obviously getting this Punchline 2 colored and lettered and finished. It's completely illustrated, and Donnie Hadiwijawa is the artist. Chiz Ariswenda is the inker, and then I do the coloring and lettering too. So it's just the three of us on it, and I'm about halfway done coloring it, so it should be. We're delivering in June.
Oh, perfect. All right, now I don't know how I didn't glom onto the fact about the musicals part. What do you have a musical background?
Yeah, before I got into the film thing, I was an aspiring composer, and you can actually, if you go to herotomorrow.com and just click on like Tap Dance Killer, you can actually hear the new version of the Tap Dance Killer song by Coco Smith. It's in the trailer.
Ooh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, she really killed it. No pun intended.
No, you meant it. Just own it.
Killed it.
Are you headed to any other conventions coming up soon?
Soon, I'll be doing the Three Rivers. Is probably the next, like a 2-dayer. I'll be doing San Diego. I'm going to DreamCon, which is in Texas, Austin. It's not really a Comic-Con, but I'm trying that out. There's a punk rock flea market here in Akron. I'll be doing that this month. And
it sounds awesome.
Well, the thing we have now is these. We just started this over the last 2 weeks. So, and it's part of the Kickstarter campaign too. These are 13 by 19 prints. They're on archival museum paper. And we are selling those at shows now. And there's also, it's also part of the, the Kickstarter package. So like Jay Gonzo did this amazing, like boxing, wrestling type, luchador almost looking poster of Apama versus Punchline. That's going to be a cover for issue 2. That's a variant. Same guy that did this one,
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, we've also kind of started to embrace this, like, where can I show up that I'll be unique, but not shunned, kind of one of those things like
Yeah.
what are you even doing here with your Scentsy candles at my punk rock flea market or whatever.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's amazing how happy people are to see comic books and plushes and toys at their craft fair or whatever. I'm sure you get the same thing. You're like, this isn't something new.
Yeah, I did the Odd Mall, which is another thing that happens here in Akron, and stuff went over really well there. So, yeah, we're just looking. Anything you can do regionally just saves you so much money. I mean, that travel time, the hotel, whatever, it's just brutal. Trying to just get up to the point where you're in the black. It's
absolutely.
You hate to have to spend 2 or 3 days just covering expenses, and then the third day is like, all right, whatever I make today is profit. But I mean, it's good to make a profit at all in the indie comic game.
Yeah.
But it's tough. It's tough biz.
So this is to remind you guys, when you're at conventions and you see people like Ted at booths selling their hearts out with the comic books that they have put their all into, it doesn't really cost you a lot of time or energy to stop and put $5 in their hand, and that makes all the difference to them, because enough people stop and put $5 in their hand, and they can make the next book. So try to save some of your money that you're not spending on slabs or $1,500 autographs or picture opportunities with chiseled chins. All right. So how many days do they have left to join the fight here to get this?
We just launched last week. So April 26th is our final day, and we're about 75% of the way there. So, obviously we hope to get into stretch goals and that kind of thing, but the short term is just to make sure we hit our goal.
And do they find you on social media under your name? Do they just look for Ted Sakura?
Yeah, Ted Sakura on, pretty much anything, or Hero Tomorrow.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much for joining. I'm excited.
Thanks for having me.
Folks, as always.
I'm thrilled to be here, and just appreciate everything you're doing for us indies. It means the world to us. Thank you.
Just sharing the love for things that I love, and it's cool that there's other people that love it too. So, all right, thank you so much, everyone. Stick around. We got other fun stuff happening here on The Experience. Bye, y'all. See you next week.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.